Hi, Chris.
Hi there. Hi, Seb.
Hi, Seth.
France. Hi, Chris.
Good morning, all. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Morning, Clive.
Morning.
Hi,
Whatever.
friends. Are you better, friends?
Um, no, I will go to the dock tomorrow.
Okay. Hope it's not too serious.
No, we will see.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay. Yeah. Right. Well, this has got to be the first YouTube public upload of a video where the host is well barely on time. Welcome, everyone. I have a very busy work period right now. That's my excuse. Gosh, look, and there's only five of us anyway, maybe six with Jan. Hi, Brian. How you keeping, Chris?
Not too bad. Been very busy. I was away in week before last. I was in Paris for a week for a meeting. Um, I'm going off to London for a meeting tomorrow for the UK GGR event, just to find out a bit more about what they're doing on land as opposed to the sea, mainly because then most of their stuff's land-based stuff.
Greenhouse gas removal, is this?
Yeah, yeah. The sort of there's five big demonstration projects that the UK has funded, and they'll
Mm.
be talking about those.
Hmm. You may be
What,
talking about those, did you say today? Or that's
No,
what
I'm
they're going to be
not.
talking about. Yeah,
They're talking about
yeah,
those. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
what
I heard
kind of? Oh, I'm
something.
sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm with a recycling company today. I mean, they want to know how to do their data, so I'm just it's normal work. But well, so as I was asking them, and they said actually they recycle, but mainly building construction waste. But they said the greenhouse gas, carbon capture and storage has come down a lot in price, and they said it's one of the things that some of their rival companies and it's part of their commercial picture is greenhouse gas removal. You get paid for it.
They're
Um,
using it for concrete production, are they?
it didn't say what it was for. I could ask them actually. Be interested to see what
Sorry,
it's.
because there isn't much actual storage in geological reservoirs at the moment in the UK.
No, right. Yes, I should ask them what
Well,
exactly what happens.
what kind of carbon capture do the recycling people resort to? Uh,
Yeah, I don't know,
yeah, okay.
Greg. I'll have to ask them. We took it from a financial point of view. But they said it's getting better. I thought it was just demonstration, just rubbish, just sort of.
Well, I mean, there can be some forms might, but the direct air capture stuff is just hopeless right now. Right?
No, I mean this is obviously capture from high concentration sources from industry, which is
Uh-huh.
different kettle of fish.
Right.
At the source, sort of.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. But they were saying actually that the cost of plastics has come down. The America it said from America. I don't know if it's something to do with Trump that the plastics industry that the cost of plastic raw materials or just has come down substantially, so it's less viable to recycle plastic now.
How unfortunate.
Mm.
Yeah, so you're not allowed to bury it, not allowed to burn it, and now you can't sell it for making more plastic. So what are you going to do with it? um,
Throw it in the
Although,
ocean.
Why
mm,
not burn?
yeah, well, that's what happens now. But I did hear just this week, by the way, or was it last week, a new thing that you can do with the PET plastics.
hmm
Apparently, you can try treating it with some chemical I can't remember now. You can change it into something that will actually absorb CO2 out of the air.
mm,
And quite whether it works economically, I don't know. But it was just because up to now, PET has been quite difficult to recycle. Not
uh,
many options to deal with it. And of course, it's a very widely used plastic in bottles of
What,
fizzy drinks and all that.
remind me which of the plastics they do recycle now.
It's mainly the sort of softer stuff, polyethylene, polypropylene, I think.
The ones with the little triangles around them, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we let's start start proper. And oh, what have we got here? It's something new here. And this is very genuinely what it's not usually like. So what do we want to talk? So see what we actually really want to talk about.
Did anyone see the webinar about that polar geoengineering paper?
I forgot.
I saw it. Didn't do my blood pressure much good, I must admit. I was shouting at the computer sometimes.
Oh dear.
Maybe you could give us some quick summary in that right now.
Well, I don't know about a summary, but I can make a couple of points, perhaps.
Well, let's put that down for now, if you're okay with that, Chris.
Yeah, polar geoengineering webinar or something like that.
Webinar. Okay.
Was this the one by SRM 360 put on? Or
No. This was the one by some of the authors of the paper that was in Frontiers in Science about polar geoengineering not being viable. Basically, that's the terminology, but that wasn't the precise title.
Okay.
I think I saw one that was, it listed a bunch of geoengineering types of things.
It listed 5 different techniques.
Oh yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
It's
all hope.
Yeah, and said ocean ion fertilization was one of the 5.
Okay, it must have been a different one. One I saw was that
I'll put the paper up in a minute.
Yeah.
You'll be able to see it anyway.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Clive, I could I have a few minutes to talk about my incomplete efforts about videos, short videos and things? I don't
Let's
have one.
put that at the end, Greg, if that's all right.
Okay, sure.
Video, because we'll see what others might be able to help about that video creation.
Sure.
So that was you probably had a go at
Well, I produced something. I only promised a shitty thing, so I think I did that. But
right. Okay, so we'll talk about that at the end. Yeah, from it's kind of from NOAC recording. Well, I'll put there like that. Sev, please.
Yeah, I think it's relevant enough. Depolymerizing plastics. I'd like to talk about methods for.
What plastics?
Depolymerizing plastics.
Okay.
For reuse.
Polymerizing. Like that?
POLY.
Polymerizing, yeah. Depolymerizing. Maybe it's one word like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to oligomers, I guess, from polymers to oligomers or monomers. Yeah, back to base chemical. Right. Okay, sounds interesting. A little bit of chemistry. And Bruce, please.
Yeah, I'd like to chat about planning for 2050. We always plan for 2100. We need to talk about 2050 contingency plans, that kind of stuff. A number of things just to say, what should we be doing for that? Not that we want to solve it now, but what should our approach be?
Yeah. I'll just leave it like that. I think we've got
that's good.
Planning for 2050. That's good. Yep. Good morning, Brian.
To discuss Australia's Earth Climate Risk Report later this hour. There's 2 detailed PowerPoint slides that look like, and it's got some interesting assessments.
Right. I think you're kind of drifting in and out, Brian, with your connection.
Australian Earth Climate Risk Report. We can go over it later this hour.
Australia and what was it? Climate
Earth Climate Risk Report.
Oh, risk report. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Right, that's shaping up quite well. Yeah. Anything else from anyone else?
Could we have a wrap up of the New York Climate Week from someone?
That's a very good idea. Yeah, let's maybe put that. I don't want to miss you, Greg, so do need to manage the time. Right, is there anyone? Well, I don't see Herb here. Is there anyone who is able to do that? So let's just see if someone comes along. Um, Summary of.
Bruce, weren't you there?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
wasn't.
Somehow I had you as being there. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? I think that's looking pretty good, actually. So let's go with that. Okay. Well, Chris, then please. This rather annoying, by the
Okay.
sound of things, webinar and a paper on polar geoengineering, please. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll just share my screen a minute just to show you the paper, which I think you probably will have come across anyway, but let's just do that. Share. So can you see that?
Yep.
So that's the paper, which is lead author is this Martin Siegert,
Mm.
and that was published on the 9th of September. And they looked at 5 different geoengineering techniques. And I'll scroll down very quickly because I can't remember all 5 off the top of my head, although, hang on, I might be able to look at another table. Oh, yeah. There was stratospheric aerosol injection, sea curtains, sea ice management for enhanced albedo and ice thickening, basal water removal under the ice, and ocean fertilization were the 5 techniques.
Mm.
And basically they said they were all wildly impractical, weren't going to work, far too costly, and we shouldn't even research them, full stop.
Mm.
And one of the things the alternatives they referred to were just decarbonisation, nothing else, just decarbonisation.
Mm.
And one bit which I found extraordinary, Martin Siegert said that decarbonisation would still be the right solution, even if we got to 2 degrees, 3 degrees, or 4 degrees. And I thought, he's mad.
Psychotic.
Yeah, absolutely balmy.
Yeah.
And that was the very much the sort of way the whole thing was presented. And a lot of Robert Chris made some criticisms of the paper you may have seen in some emails a few weeks ago. Basically, their arguments were not. They were more sort of personal opinions rather than based on any sort of evidence.
Well, it sounds like a religious statement.
Yeah, you could put it that way. I thought of it. What made me think of it is this: the emperor's new clothes. There's this lot of folks all going on that this is the solution to everything else, and the reality is something completely different.
Well, just saying that no matter how hot it is, I mean, this guy is not the guy who's suffering. He's speaking on behalf of people who are undergoing forced migrations right now. I mean,
sure. Yeah.
Was marine cloud rebrightening covered?
No, it wasn't covered because remember, they were focusing on polar geoengineering techniques specifically, and they didn't, for whatever reasons, chose those 5. I can't remember if there's any specific explanation of why they chose the 5, but that's what they chose.
Did they act like the 5 were complete?
Not necessarily. I'll have to check the paper.
Can you scroll up a bit, Chris, so we can see the authors here? Is it? Have you got the paper?
Hang on, just a minute. There's a whole massive list of authors.
University
32 of them, to be exact.
Right. Yeah.
That's the abstract.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, it really mystifies me why these political statements end up coming across in these science journals. Is it scientific reasoning?
I mean, the title is a political statement, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it prejudged the whole issue, didn't it? Because if they wanted to be more even-handed, they could have said something like a critical assessment of, for example, rather
Just
than
leave
saying,
off the political clause.
yeah.
And what about non-dangerous geoengineering?
I don't think they think there
I mean,
are any.
Are they excluding non-dangerous geoengineering? I mean, clearly, in the title, they're only discussing dangerous geoengineering.
Well, in their view, all polar geoengineering is dangerous, effectively.
Another prejudgment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prejudgment.
It's as though they said, we've seen these 5 cats and they're all black, therefore no cats can be white.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
I wonder why they call it. I wonder why they call it frontiers in science when this kind of a paper could be frontiers in politics.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing as well, on the webinar, they had people from several of them who were authors, and a couple of other people who sort of supported them as well. There was no one who would take a different view at all. So the panel they had was completely biased to support the paper. And people like Sean Fitzgerald and others have made their feelings known about this already. And Hugh Hunt and quite a number of other folks have said it was a very biased sort of thing. Anyway, it got into the sort of the things like papers like The Guardian and a number of other news sources. They got a lot of airplay, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Jan. Hi, Jan. We haven't seen you for a while. You've got your hand up, so you're next. Yeah.
I just want to remark that maybe it's important to understand where the paper is right and where it's wrong, and not just to say it's all wrong.
No, I agree with that. Yeah.
Some of these methods are really crazy, really stupid, very dangerous, and should be avoided at all costs. While other methods, I mean, mostly the solar dimming part, that's the one that has to be discussed. All the other methods are highly questionable, actually, these other 4 ones, yeah. So that's just one method that makes sense. So I think they are right in most points. Just they are wrong that it should be researched for sure, and especially the solar dimming part. But maybe the other methods, they are just nuts. Okay, just want to remark this one.
Okay, thank you, Jan.
People are researching some of those other methods already, like the curtains for Antarctica and Greenland are already being researched, and there's money going into doing some trials for that already. So they're not stopping that research activity. I suspect some of those are just impractical, just for pure practicality reasons, let alone anything else.
Yes.
Yeah, it's hardly dangerous though. It's just impractical. So maybe what's dangerous is it just wouldn't work, and you're going to have dangerous climate change.
So anyway,
I'm just astonished this is being put forward as science. I mean, it's not putting forward the scientific dimensions of it, and it's not taking an unbiased view.
Right.
No.
Yeah. So it's calling itself science, but it isn't really, because it doesn't justify its position. It just makes a lot of statements that are unsubstantiated by the sound of things, which is a pity.
Right, but I mean, when you see a title like that, I mean, I'm not even inclined to read it. I mean, yeah, we should give them their due, but they're not giving anybody else their due, obviously, with the title like that. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, it works both ways, right?
Yeah, and as I said before, they said the alternative was decarbonization, full stop, nothing else.
Right. Now, if it gets to 100 degrees above historical, that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
All right. And it's odd to me that there's so many authors. There's about 30 authors.
32 authors, yeah.
Yeah, and none of them's come across marine cloud brightening, which is probably
they probably have, but they just decided to not include it because they felt it wasn't necessarily a particularly polar technique, even though you could use it in polar regions.
Okay. I mean, stratospheric aerosol injection, that doesn't have much effect. And you can't use it. I think they even said you can't use it. You can't use it during the winter because all it does is trap the heat even more.
Well, there's been a paper or two recently that suggests that's not true.
Oh,
It does
really?
have some effect in winter.
And
Yeah.
Wake Smith and David Keith and others have argued that it.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not totally obvious that you couldn't do a polar geoengineering polar SAI, and you could do it without building these megaplanes because of the lower altitude of the
Yeah.
stress. So even that one.
Well, have they responded to the seasonal polar stratospheric aerosol proposal that has been put forward by the UK and several other institutions? Did they respond to that one?
I don't think they've responded explicitly to those. You mean the ARIA projects?
No, I'm specifically talking about springtime commercial airline injection of stratospheric aerosols in the polar regions that would cause more reflection in the spring and summer, and those particles would be circulated through the Murray-Dobson circulation by autumn, and thus it wouldn't affect the ozone that much because they'd be out of the atmosphere by late autumn.
Right.
Out of the stratosphere.
That sounded like you were saying something about the UK, Brian, but is it just spring and summer SAI?
There's already been a write-up on this proposal to apply in the springtime stratospheric aerosols.
Yeah.
In polar regions and it's feasible even using commercial airliners.
All right. Yeah. I think we've discussed this a little bit, and that makes sense to me. That does make sense. I don't understand how it can work during the winter.
No, it's
but why do it in the winter? I mean, has this paper responded to the springtime application
I don't think
stratospheric aerosol? Okay.
No,
well, then the paper is grossly lacking if they're not even responding to the published proposal that's out already on the seasonal application. Maybe we need to write another one, but who knows? I mean, anyway, we should critique this paper. We should, say the paper's grossly lacking. It's missing all these analyses.
Yeah. I mean, we're working in a group, me and others, where that has got a political side to it, where they just say this is all just a small amount of noise in the grand scheme of things, and when climate change, when the effects of climate change when it becomes a huge political crisis, they'll all be scrambling around looking for something to do, and they'll say, "Well, what do you got?" And marine cloud brightening, where is it? Because we're going to pump loads of money into it now because we've got to do something because we are otherwise we're going to get voted out of office. Sorry, Jan, you've got your hand up again, please. Yeah.
Many things, but
very polite. Yeah, go on.
Marine cloud brightening in the Arctic does not function so good because you have too much ice crystals in the clouds, so it functions more as liquid clouds. Then you have the Brian-Dobson circulation goes downward, so the aerosol in the Arctic has no long persistence time because air goes down in the stratosphere, for example.
Yeah.
And the other point is with the Arctic, you only have these 4 months. But further, to cool the Arctic via clouds, besides all the other months, the 8 other months, you warm the Arctic by clouds. That's a problem. And the other thing is,
sorry, Jan, that's very useful what you're saying because we're going to upload this one publicly, and people might be wondering but you're making a good point that.
The other thing is
let me just expand. I want you to come back, Jan. I want you to come back in a moment to finish what your point. I'm not trying to put you off, but I just want to make sure people understand what you're saying is this Brewer-Dobson. What you're saying is absolutely right. That the atmosphere, people don't realize from the Earth, it moves around. It goes from the equator into the polar regions. And so if they put stratospheric aerosol into the stratosphere, it comes across from the equator towards the pole, and the same at the South Pole. This is the natural circulation of the Earth's atmosphere. In fact, it goes in Hadley cells. It goes about 3 of them. Just like Jupiter. That's why Jupiter has bands, but it's got about 8 of them. 8 or 10. The Earth's just got only 3, and they go around. And so this is what we're saying. You do it in the spring and the summer, and it provides cooling over the polar region. But as you've just said, Jan, the air comes down to the poles in the winter, and so this aerosol comes out of the air and comes down into the polar sea. And I don't think it's a huge amount. I mean, not everybody here likes stratospheric aerosol injection for other reasons. In fact, we're not sure how much it affects natural photochemistry of the troposphere. But then but it does come out. This is the idea. It's supposed to come out of the air. Sorry, Jan, you're saying. Sorry,
the problem you have with the Arctic is just the 4 month time to cool it via clouds. But the cirrus cloud thinning seems to be an approach because you increase the long wave radiation to space. This means it works also during winter time if you reduce cloud cover during winter time. Especially, I think the reducing cloud cover during winter time could be an approach, but we do not know if it works at all. So also difficult. And also, I think to target clouds in the stratosphere is maybe more difficult than in the troposphere because the winds are generally faster. And if you have faster winds, you have faster dispersal of aerosols, so maybe more difficult. So I think to cool the Arctic, it's highly difficult, and maybe it works, maybe not. We have to try. We need research, but it's far from certain. Just
Absolutely, yes, it's a good summary there. That's right. And so it just works for those months. But like Brian was saying just now as well, the spring and summer, you could put it, and then but it comes down, and then in the winter,
Well,
it's dark
I'd
in the
like to
winter.
respond to that. I'd like to respond to that. So
Sure. Yep.
the intent is to apply the stratospheric aerosols with commercial airliners in the springtime. And the intent is for the lifetime to be only 6 months. And of course, the circulation, based on the volcano measurements, more than 90% of the injected particles are moving towards the pole and then sink near the pole. And so these characteristics are actually a feature of the proposal to actually limit the lifetime and the spatial extent and the temporal extent of the stratospheric aerosols in the polar regions, and really focus on a springtime application that results in summertime increase in reflection. And like you say, it's only 4 months and then it's over. And so this would minimize the effect on stratospheric ozone in the springtime, early spring, that's what I should say, where the ozone hole becomes the most critical question.
Yeah, that's it.
Most critical.
Thank you very much.
Time of the year.
Yeah, thank
Thanks.
you. So go on, sorry. Yep.
I think that's it. Thanks.
Yeah. So in the very early spring, you find polar stratospheric clouds. So mostly the stratosphere doesn't have clouds. Even cirrus is high up in the troposphere, but the stratosphere is even higher above that. But polar stratospheric clouds, it's obviously particles, and these have been known to be very strong destroyers of ozone. They're quite unusual, but there's been getting more of them because more water vapor getting into the stratosphere from aircraft and whatever, and methane drifting up there and get oxidizing makes water. And so yes, that's right. So it's a few months. That's right. And also commercial aircraft, the reason why it's more practical to have stratospheric aerosol injection in the higher latitudes, the polar regions, is because the stratosphere begins at a much lower altitude because it's cooler. Whereas at the equator, the stratosphere starts at a much higher altitude, so it's more difficult to the aircraft.
That's a good point, Cloud. It's worth saying that the lifetime of the particles is also shorter because the commercial airline altitudes are the lower stratosphere, where the lifetime will be shorter as well. So in terms of a limited temporal and spatial extent, this use of commercial airliners, which is of course much lower cost as well, presents a first opportunity to actually begin to address the loss of sea ice, because it is and a first opportunity if and when people decide to try stratospheric aerosols, this is probably the place, and springtime is the time to do that in order to minimize side effects.
Yeah, because as you say, it limits the spatial to us, it's temporal. So it doesn't stay as long because it's coming down anyway. you're putting it in the Arctic, and the air is coming down there anyway. It's descending, and spatial. Well, because it's if you put it in the equator, it covers the entire area of that whole hemisphere. Whereas if you just put it in the polar regions, it's just going to come down from there anyway. So it's taking up less space as well.
Brian, do you have a link to that you could put on, or the paper that you're talking?
There was a paper in recent months. I thought it came from what was it? It was, I thought, University College London or something, UCL.
Well, check, I can Google around or whatever. I can find it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I thought it was UCL, and I do remember Andrew had some references. I'll check my conversation with Andrew.
All right. And thank you, Jan, and then we'll move on maybe soon after you. Oh, you've taken your hand. Yes? You're muted, Jan. Unmute, please. You're still muted, Jan. Unmute. You must unmute. We can't hear you. Unmute.
The Brian circulation transports the air in the wintertime to the poles. This means if you do stratospheric aerosol injection near the tropics or higher or mid subtropics, it comes down over the winter hemisphere. Though you warm the winter hemisphere by aerosols if they produce clouds via the Brian-Dobson circulation. If you do it in the lower stratosphere, in the lower latitudes, that's one point. So it's good to do it in spring. So during winter, it's gone, the aerosols. But if you do also in the tropics and subtropics, it comes down in the winter hemisphere. So I don't know which effects it has. Then the Arctic, where the sea ice is vanishing, new cloud measurements show we have about 80% of cloud cover in the Arctic, 80%. And another study just found out that the shortwave radiation, the absorption of the shortwave radiation is already reduced by clouds about 55%. So you have only via solar radiation management in summer 45% left. You can reduce shortwave radiation reaching the ground. So you don't have a big window in the summertime, actually. Too many clouds already, much too much shortwave absorbed, blocked. So I don't know, actually. And you have warm water coming to the north. And if you increase like the AMOC, for example, or the now you make it more positive, you get more warm water going north. You get also problems to reinstall the sea ice. Because I don't know, actually, to cool the Arctic down will be interesting if it works at all and how much we can do it. So I'm really curious about it. Just want to say this.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So that's another good. But go on, Brian. Yep.
Jan is correct on several of these points. The insulation is somewhat limited because of the percentage of clouds already there. This underscores Professor Alan Gadian's point that actually the greatest heat flux into the Arctic is in fact the latent heat from lower latitudes, emphasizing the need for marine cloud rebrightening at lower latitudes in the troposphere, which would reduce the latent heat flux into the Arctic latitudes. Thanks.
Yeah, but thank you very much, Brian. Yep. Yes.
But I do note with interest this Frontiers paper completely misses the whole approach because they're a little echo chamber and they're not really talking to a broad diversity of scientists. They miss the entire notion or concept that marine cloud rebrightening in lower latitudes would contribute to reduced latent heat flux in the Arctic. So this again is completely missed. It's unfortunate and it represents serious gaps in communications.
Yeah, and we wonder if they even understood it and if they've so many authors and they still don't seem to have anybody that can explain it in the ways that we've just summarized here, stratospheric aerosol injection. And Brian, you're saying, let me just promote the point you've just said, marine cloud rebrightening. Mostly it's called marine cloud brightening, but you're sort of embedded in that point is that the marine clouds have become dimmer. There's fewer marine clouds. This is partly seems most likely a lot of it's feedback from the warming already, and so we're just saying rebrighten, just get it back to how it was naturally. And so again, that's missed off as well. Nobody talks about that. Okay, thank you, Brian. So that's a great starter for 10. Brian. Sorry, Chris. And
Yes,
good
I
evening,
encourage you
Ursula.
to read the paper, but it does take a little bit of time.
Yeah, it's quite long. What is it? 20, 30 pages?
Yeah, 30 odd pages.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's nice to see you, Ursula. Haven't seen you for a little while.
Yes, sorry,
Teacher.
and it's really nice to be here. Thank you.
Oh, great. And lovely to have you. And we've got Hugo. Right. So next thing is, yes, depolymerizing plastics, please, Sev.
Yeah. Thanks, Clive. A couple of decades ago, I took out a US patent on a series of methods. I put it in the chat. It's now expired, but one of its capabilities was to depolymerize plastic, or indeed biomass, via hydrothermal liquefaction. And this can be done using a thing called a gravity well reactor, which uses the Earth's gravity in a very deep tube, if you like, or double tube, to use pressure and temperature to split apart the polymer bonds on a plastic, or indeed on something like a wood cellulose, to turn it into its individual monomers, i.e. sugar in case of cellulose, or for instance with PET plastic, you get back the phthalate chemical in isolation, and it is a liquid at that stage. So if you can, why it works, why I believe it works, is that if you pump some of this shredded plastic down a tube, heat it up possibly a bit, and also putting with it some micro bubbles, all of the same size, what happens is that as it gets deeper, the bubbles contract and heat up adiabatically, and eventually they decavitate, i.e. they turn from being a bubble into not a bubble. And at that single point, and if all the bubbles are the same size, you get three major effects happening. First of all, you have a instantaneous temperature spike of up to 5,000 degrees Celsius. Second, each of those bubbles puts out two microjets, which can basically tear apart any solid object, such as torn up plastic. And thirdly, you have a shockwave, a micro shockwave going out. So if they're all the same size, you have the shock waves and these temperature spikes all occurring at the same time. And if that temperature, if the depth down the gravity well reactor gives you pressure enough to bring water to near its supercritical point, which is 220 atmospheres and 374 degrees Celsius, what happens to the water is it becomes no longer water. The concentration of hydronium ions, H+, and hydroxide ions goes up through the roof, which can help chemical reactions. And you can, with a bit of catalytic help, you can actually break the bonds of polythene or of cellulose or of PET into their monomers. And once the monomers have been formed and the temperature goes down again almost instantaneously because the bubbles have burst, then you shouldn't get any back reaction back to a polymer. So if you put down, say, PET waste, you should notionally end up with coming up if the you have a pipe within a pipe. Going down the pipe, you have the polymer, and then the reaction occurs, and then it goes out the bottom of that pipe and up the outside. So you have a nice bit of countercurrent heating and cooling, which is good and also free. You should end up with quite a significant yield of monomer, which you can then siphon off and use to make new virgin plastic. And even if you were to do it with mixed plastics, which are the horrible thing, the horrible, mixed plastics mixed with, municipal solid waste and other garbage, paper and whatever, it should still depolymerize all of those things. So you end up with a soup of monomers. And with a soup of monomers, chemists have got several ways of separating them by fractionation or electrophoresis or membranes and various other means. You should notionally be able to recover pretty much all the plastic. And if that, the technique should be able to be tested out using a simple lab benchtop pressure temperature reactor, although it'll be a little bit harsh conditions. And so you should be able to test out whether this hypothesis of mine works out to see how good it is. Now, the Dutch have already used these gravity well reactors to destroy hazardous medical waste, dioxins and blood and viruses and whatever. The British are using it to turn wastewater into agricultural water, because it basically destroys all the bugs in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that part of the reaction already occurs, but they take it further than I would take it. They take it to turn it into gases, and we don't want gases. So you have you make sure that the temperature where the reaction occurs isn't quite at supercritical levels. As you near supercritical levels, the water changes, and for instance, salt comes out of solution. But
salt comes out of solution.
But anything organic dissolves. It's bizarre supercritical water.
Right. Yeah.
So you'd think it'd be worthwhile doing the test to see whether we can recycle virtually all of our semi-concentrated plastics, and indeed all of our straw and sawdust waste and whatever. And of course, if you do it with cellulose and wood fibers or straw, you get sugars which can be turned into precision fermentation products.
Right. I've got some questions, but let's get some other people go first. Who was first? Was it Chris or
Chris
or...
was first.
Chris first. Chris, please. Yeah, then.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm familiar with this because there's one of the water company in my region has got a deep shaft process at Tilbury on the Thames, which has been operating for many decades, because it was invented by ICI, the whole process for destroying initially organic waste, and the water company is using it for sewage treatment, basically, to oxidize the water. And you've got, as Sev said, you've got a deep shaft, which I can't remember how deep it is now, but I think the Tilbury ones are the order of perhaps 100 meters or so.
You need a bit more than that, preferably.
Well, it might be a bit more. I can't remember how deep it is, but
I think you're saying for your thing, for plastic.
Well, maybe the plastics you would need it deeper, yeah. But fundamentally, the generic process has been around for quite a long time. But the other thing I wanted to say was I'm also familiar, again, through my work originally, I was involved with a company in just north of Newcastle, who made funny enough, the precursor to paracetamol, which has been in the news recently.
Tylenol, is it, or something? Tylenol?
No, well, Tylenol's there's the trade name.
Okay.
It's acetaminophen or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, they had a waste that was very nasty, and this one they used, instead of a deep shaft, they had essentially, as Seb described, a high pressure and high temperature reactor that basically destroyed any organic material whatsoever. And I can't remember the name of the thing, but it worked at sort of maybe several hundred atmospheres. I can't remember the temperature, but it would have been quite high, I think, as well. And it destroyed what was otherwise have been very recalcitrant organic materials. And I imagine that process would do pretty much what Seb described without necessity. And that piece of kit, the advantage of that is it's much smaller than building a deep shaft. These things are.
It is, but it requires a lot more energy to make it work at scale.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Good. Franz?
There is a problem in this because water gets rid of its polarity in total when it comes near the critical point, and you must use very clean water because even normal salt precipitates in this near critical water and clogs the system. You know, you get a solid precipitate which grows and grows, and your pipe is closed after a time.
Yeah,
right.
That problem can be solved by simply flushing it, not at high temperature. If you put ordinary water down it, it will then dissolve any of the salt which has coated the sides of the pipe, and then you can go back again with your clean pipes and do the process again. But Franz is right; it would clog up the pipes eventually.
Right, you just have to have an unclogging flush from time to time.
Because I know there was a trials to clean wastewater with organics and salts and so on, and the system couldn't bring to work because of this clogging process.
Yeah,
salt clogging.
Have you got a document on this, Sev?
Yeah, I've put it in the chat.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
it's the whole patent.
The whole patent, of course. Patent, right? Yes, you said it's patent.
It talks about all the other things you can do with the hydrothermal process.
Liquefaction, yes. Yes, I remember this being one of your ideas.
You can do carbonization if you want. If you want to turn straw into biochar, it's a very economical way of doing that.
Right.
These processes work also in nature. In geologic, if you are in 15 or 10 kilometers deep, you have enormous pressure and enormous temperature.
10 kilometers.
So for instance, the water, you get mineral water arrives at this depth, and you dissolve there things you can't dissolve with cold water, quartz or metal oxides and so on.
So it's actually sort of dissolving the rock that it's flowing through that deep level.
Yeah, and when the water comes up, the minerals
you get some of the products coming out of hydrothermal vents down on seamounts.
Yeah,
down at sea.
These black smoke, for instance.
Yes,
the black smokers.
Yeah,
there's white smokers as well. They're not all black.
Yes, they are not all black. Yes.
Just the other thing I just wanted to say was the deep shaft process I described are very large diameter pipes, and as far as I was aware, they never had any problems with clogging at all. But they're not trying to do some of the same sort of things that Seb's talking about. This was just destroying sewage material.
They would dissolve the problem of the clogging by increasing the pressure, and the chimneys burst.
Yes, well, all sounds very interesting. Thank you for that, Sev. Yes, that's been waiting in the wings a long time, that one, hasn't it?
It
So,
has.
so in fact, what's the name of it? Hydrothermal. Yeah,
Liquefaction.
yeah, liquefaction. Yeah.
There's
Well,
been ideas for that, for destroying organic matter by putting them in sort of some sort of spheres and then putting them down in the deep ocean to get the pressure. I seem to remember someone thought about this a while ago,
All right.
but I don't know if it
Clive,
works.
will viewers of this recording see the chat or not?
Yes, I put the chat in the description. So
Excellent.
if they are interested, yeah, they can look in the chat and go from
Clive,
there.
Clive, I think you got to volunteer for the New York Climate Week. That would be Hugo.
Hugo? All right, let's.
Yes. Sorry, what?
Did you go to the New York Climate Week, Hugo?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we volunteer you to give us an update later on towards the end of this meeting?
Yes, I will love to.
Great stuff. Thank you very much.
That is what I put in the chat. So happy to do it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah. So that's so it's going to be Hugo there. Great. Okay, so Bruce Parker, please.
Okay.
Planning for 2050.
Gonna share a screen here.
Yeah. You should be able to share screen.
Yeah, there we go. Now I've been noticing I have problems with my
You're a
audio
little
and
bit
video.
quiet, Bruce. I don't know if you can get it closer or got the right microphone switched on.
There's probably a problem with my video audio. Can you hear me at all?
Just about, but it's a bit straining.
Bit
We have to
faint.
strain to hear.
Let me do this. Go on with everybody else. Let me try this next time. My computer's telling me I've got problems with my audio and speaker and such like that. So it's probably not worthwhile trying to finish this. Do this.
Okay,
together.
I mean, sometimes it's just a question of picking a different microphone because we all got 3 or 4
Yeah, I
microphones,
know.
depending on your
I need
webcam or something.
I need to play around with that.
That's it's a setting on the Zoom microphone. It's a little
Yeah,
up.
but it was working fine. All of a sudden, it stopped working. It goes back and forth and back and forth.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Live, if you turn on your captions, if you go to your options of more with the 3 dots and turn on your captions and have it show captions, it picks up every word that he's saying and prints it out for you on the screen.
I could do that here, can I?
Well, the person would have
no,
to do it.
For
Bruce
to
would
do,
need to
is
do
it?
it.
Oh, I've got captions here. Are you saying I should do it, John, or Bruce should do it?
Well, each of us can do it. Whenever somebody's speaking with a heavy foreign accent or their microphone is very soft, if you
Yeah.
turn your captions on, you'll see every word printed on the
There
screen.
it goes. You can see it now.
Okay.
Right.
Can you
That's
still hear me
interesting.
then?
You're quite unfortunately faded out even more, Bruce.
Yeah. Let's do this another time.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing is, if you have some headphones, I find the headphones work very differently to the microphone on your computer.
Yeah.
One can be very quiet and one can be very loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This worked fine for a while, but it stopped today. So let me experiment with it the next couple of weeks. Try it again next week. Next 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah, it's coming in
Okay.
and out, so I think it's got an
Yeah.
auto thing.
Something's wrong with the computer.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Technology. Who needs it? Okay. That's a shame. Looking forward to that. All right. Well, Brian, let's say we can look forward to this instead. Australian climate, risk report. Yes. Brian,
Yes.
please.
I do have, I'm just going to actually share, there's an interesting overview here that is Australia's climate report. Now, this has been 2 years in the making, and it's an assessment of Australia's national climate risks. It's an overview. There's also a more detailed one. Now, this overview one is like almost 100 slides long. The detailed one is like 220 slides long. So there's a lot of interesting material here that's going to require digesting, and there will be, in approximately 12 hours, there will be a webinar with Chris Bowen and the CEO of the Climate Council discussing this. And so I might send you guys a link in case you want to get up early. Actually, it won't be that early for you, Clive. It'll be in the morning. And it's around 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, which will be something in the morning, your time, Clive.
but it's a 1 hour webinar with Chris Bowen, who's the Minister for Climate and Energy here in Australia.
Okay,
So
great.
I will send an invitation in the chat for everyone. It's happening in 12 hours or less. Let's see, there were several. I'm in the wrong slide, actually. Let me just try.
Is it going to be recorded, Brian? Because I'm too.
I really don't.
Yeah.
No, I would assume that the Climate Council would try to record it, but I will highlight one or two pictures here. This one, water security, is looking at in a 3 degrees Celsius world. So the assessments are made at 1.5, 2, and 3 degrees Celsius. And they talk about high confidence and medium confidence results, but they're anticipating a 2.9 degrees Celsius temperature. I can't remember if it's 2050 or 2100, but this century. And you can look at these areas that have a serious water security challenge, including bits of Victoria and South Australia and Queensland and almost every state and territory under various scenarios. And they said the most likely outcome, they're counting on about 2.9 Celsius given recent events. So that's one bit of a highlight that I think was notable. There's some others as well. There is a tool here. I am unable to reach this website today, and I don't know if it's been attacked or something else, but we're going to have to see about accessing this data, which is Australian Climate Service. .gov, and that's worth trying. And then there are a bunch of detailed notes. But yeah, it's a very interesting, comprehensive report. This is just the overview. And I encourage people to read it, and I encourage people to attend the webinar tonight, which will be in 12 hours or less, 11 hours. And I'll drop a link to the webinar in the chat momentarily.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Brian,
yes.
What is the lay of the land politically regarding climate change in Australia? Is it something like the United States?
There is a bit of polarization, but actually, the head of the Australian Climate Service is from the opposition liberal side, which is a bit right-leaning. And to the credit of the existing Labor government, they have brought in people from both sides of the aisle to address this issue. And there's actually an interview with the head of the Australian Climate Service. I think it was perhaps with the Climate Council. And to his credit, he's put down the politics and he said, look, this is a clear and present danger to everything, including business as usual in Australia and beyond. And so he really went, I have to applaud the Labor government for having a bilateral commission to look into this in great detail and from bringing people in on both sides of the aisle. Here's just a great overview of crop yields, water, critical infrastructure, the challenges to forests, sea level. This is all the different areas that will be affected, and this is just one of hundreds of slides that they've made. So it's going to provide a huge amount of cannon fodder for people around the world to use and really figure out, okay. And I think they're committing to at least 70% renewables by, is it 2035, something? So very huge major commitments going to be made. I think within the next quarter, they are being made by the existing government on huge fraction of renewable energy in Australia within 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
That would be solar and wind largely, or what?
Yeah, solar, wind, and batteries. I mean, Australia is a renewable superpower with solar in Queensland and Western Australia in the interior, and wind down in the south. And I think that those two together can actually provide enormous resources.
Yeah,
we're already likely to be sending power to Singapore via undersea cable over the next several years.
I think it's probably better to look at marine solar for Singapore, and we're working on that now in the Philippines. It's when you look at the cost of the undersea cable and the transmission and all the rest, it's just one of these big centralized projects. Whereas marine solar, you can do decentralized. You can put it all around Singapore and Singapore waters. You can go beyond that even, and your cables are 100 times shorter, and your transmission costs are thousands of times less. Mm-hmm.
There's no shortage of sun in Singapore. Yeah.
Well, it's a bit cloudy, but it sure beats it when, the sun is a marvelous distributor of energy.
Yeah. 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 Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a quick one. Long distance transmission cables can be quite effective if you use DC rather than AC for a start, and also you can have these ones that are cooled as well, because there's a proposal, for example, for one from Iceland to the UK to bring their renewable energy to the UK, or to Scotland or somewhere.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Chris. Yeah, I think it's still dollars per watt, whereas you look at solar panels are pennies per watt. So they're a couple orders of magnitude. But I do note with interest, and I think this has not been evaluated properly, the deep geothermal wells everywhere with fracking enables the accessing of deep geothermal energy everywhere, or most everywhere, which is interesting. Google did some work on this. I think the first such deep geothermal well was in Reno or Nevada somewhere. But the prospect exists that these can be deployed everywhere and that the cost of drilling drops quite a bit. And of course, this becomes practical because of fracking technology. And so that's an interesting additional renewable resource to look at that could be deployed locally.
But environmentalists have complained about fracking in general, haven't they?
Yeah, you've got to look at impermeable rock layers. You're talking about going down kilometers, which is way below the water table. So it needs to be done responsibly. And there may be some side effects to assess. I mean, I think that does need to be looked at. But I think the key is having impermeable layers below the water table.
I see. Well, certainly it's worth pursuing.
I agree. And Google has been. I think it's an interesting approach for data centers.
Bit of an irony.
Right.
Bit of an irony.
Well, look, if you can take an old fossil technology and adapt it for renewable use, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, in that respect. Yeah,
we'll take
sense.
that. We'll take that one.
Yeah.
As long as we reasonably, I mean, with manageable risk.
Yeah.
I think absolute safety is a false chimera. It's a false goal to head towards, but managed risk is practical.
Yeah. I mean, engineers, that's how engineers work. They don't say, oh, well, that's done bad somewhere else, so we can't use it here because morally that's, too ironic or something. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, zero risk means we need another 7 astronauts. So everything has
zero risks means we need another 7 astronauts. I missed that. What's that?
Yeah. Oh, that's a reference to one of my advisors from Caltech, Dick Feynman. He was on the Challenger Commission. He went down to Florida and interviewed the NASA engineers, and they said, well, there's a 1 to 10% risk that those O-rings would freeze and that would actually cause a bypass problem. And then he did the managers, and the managers said there was zero risk that this would happen. And it was this management failure of understanding or communication that actually led to the accident. So gross engineering mismanagement and communication.
Right, yes. I'd heard that story. Yeah,
need another 7 astronauts. That's what NASA stood for back then.
We need another. Okay, right, because we've just lost 7. So, I understood that they were under huge pressure. Sort of business pressure to get the launches done. And so, we can't keep delaying all this safety.
Oh, this is a great example of political pressure. Some politician had a major announcement they wanted to make. I think it was a State of the Union. Reagan had a State of the Union message he wanted to give. And so, he got a State of the Union disaster. But this is a great example for us to learn, because at the end of the day, when it comes to climate repair, the voters are demanding that some politician do something about the climate. They're going to be turning to climate repair or geoengineering or other things
with, like it or not, whether the science has been done, whether the research has been done or not. At the end of the day,
ban on research is just insane.
yeah, and so not funding the research now is shameful, actually. I mean, it's unconscionable to not do the research while we can before the 11th hour comes and the politician has to pull the trigger on one of these techniques, whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
So let's get the research done. Let's get the funding in place. I think it's just obvious.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, yeah. Yeah. There we go. I think we all understand that. Yeah. Thank you very much, Brian. Jan, please.
Just want to say we won't be the ones who will conduct solar dimming, but it will be done by very powerful interest groups trying to make as much money as they can out of it. So it's the same problem as we had before. It will just be transferred to solar or to geoengineering. So if geoengineering of Earth is done by the wrong people out of the wrong motivatives, we end up in this, maybe in bigger shit than before, and that's big problem I see there.
Yeah, I mean, I think about those things as well, Jan. There are incentives that people always have, and the people have financial incentives. It's usually financial, isn't it? And unfortunately, we're seeing now that big politics is, well, it's become more brazen now, a bit more obvious, that big money talks louder than anything else, and affects politics, and politicians have been getting bought off for a long time. It's just blindingly obvious now. That's what's happening, and this is the way the world works, unfortunately. So it's yeah. Can engineers design systems and get them promoted so that somebody makes money? They actually, just by getting a bargain and making money, you fix the planet, or you make the planet more sustainable. It's not
Well, I
easy.
think that's one thing that's missing is that government in its highest form uh, addresses market failures. And we need to get real leadership into our
Yeah.
governance. And right now, there's a broken promise. And the broken promise is IPCC promised to predict the problems, and then the political system would be addressing solutions. But there's an abrogation of that responsibility in the second half.
Yeah, that's right. And people with their votes need to be educated. So I think some of it comes down to us to I mean, we've
Educate.
privileged position to actually learn and be able to discuss among ourselves and have the time to do that, and
Sure.
the stability to be able to do that. And
Yeah.
so we're kind of among this, probably rather a small number of people that could make this available so that more people can actually learn. Because I think people are on their own. I mean, I'm finding that when I'm working every day, I don't have there's no days off. I'm freelance, then that makes me wonder, I can't keep up with this, all these emails going back and forth. So how anybody could learn from nothing, or how they could feel that they could make any difference, how they could feel useful. It's difficult to
That's a
see.
good point, Clive. I think there's some serious challenges to jetting for the climate. And even though there's a picture of a jet behind me, we haven't been doing any jetting recently. And I think we need to, there's a benefit to staying in one place and addressing our communications online, where we're burning a lot less carbon.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Just stay where we are.
Stay in one place and get more done.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're in the people watching this might not realize we've been talking like this for 3 years. Is it 3 years now? We're up to meeting over 100 now, every 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
we've really learnt a great deal from each other. So we actually have got a lot of useful things we can say, because we've been through an awful lot arguing with each other. No doubt there'll be more of those to come as well. But that's what scientists do. They disagree. They speak up if they disagree. It's not, oh no, so I've got to toe the party line. I've got to say the right thing. Right. Yes. Okay. Thanks. Okay. So that's general sort of points. Thank you, Brian. Is anything else? The Australian Climate Risk Report.
Well, there are a bunch of additional reports. It's a large website. I'll drop the high-level place on the website there, and most importantly, we'll send a link to the interview with Chris Bowen, which I think you can submit a question ahead of time. So if you scan through this evening, you can even send a question in for asking during the webinar.
Okay. So if you've got a plan for
Maybe we should
marine
do something
climate,
on climate repair. Maybe we should formulate a question on climate repair that we can ask Chris Bowen, the Minister of Climate. I've actually had the chance to meet him in recent years. And so maybe we could think of a deliberate
I think it would be
question.
worth it just as an experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should come up maybe together, maybe on using our emails or whatever, or even we should in the chat. Let's come up with some good questions that we might submit in the coming hours that they might cover during the call, like the third leg of the climate triad.
Yeah. Have they considered marine cloud rebrightening?
Yeah,
something like that.
All right, let's see. Let's see if we can formulate a good one this hour or the next.
Good stuff.
I'll be happy to submit it.
Excellent. Okay, thank
Thanks.
you, Brian. Okay, how are we doing? We've got 20 minutes, so we're doing all right, actually. So, Hugo, thank you for offering to give a summary. You were there at the New York Climate Week.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, was very nice to be there. Very good vibe. It was the most biggest event in terms of number of events and people coming by to New York. That's was one of the summaries. And yeah, in my case, I made very good connections. We are moving forward. I will tell at the end. However, I would like to say that seeing this like from a upper perspective, it seems to be that these people in general is ignoring the current political situation that is happening in the US. Trump was saying, meanwhile, we were there, that the climate was not an issue, that it was fake news and everything on the UN. So the attitude that I feel was like, and maybe some people that you are hearing, you think the same, but I think that it's a dangerous attitude. It's like, oh, no worry, this guy is crazy. This bad dream is going to gone in 3 more years. So yeah, let's ignore this guy and all of his followers. And because we have power, because this has been the biggest event ever, so the numbers also backed us. And I think that's a very dangerous position, because he has also he's not only words, right? He always his words come with actions, and one of the actions that he's taking is to banning all of the non-profit initiative that is related with climate, for you to know. So all of these new non-profit companies or whatever that are related with climate, they will not be allowed to reduce taxes because of that. For example, that's one of the things that are happening in the US, right? So, and yeah, and my point is that I think that I think Greg was there when I make the question in the HPAC meeting at the end. I think that we should really try to, this is now a personal vision, try to be more friendly with the message, to make the common people to understand what are we trying to do in a more friendly way, in a more basic way, in a more economical, beneficial way. Every of the climate initiatives should be economically viable. Because if not, I don't think that this is only a bad dream. This people is not is not slowing down. Is on the contrary, they are winning more and more force, and not only in the US. You can see how the environment is changing also in the UK, and will change in another countries very soon. So yeah, it was, as I said, a very good week, very good for business, especially for what I'm trying to do. But I think that the common vibe was also very good, but they were kind of ignoring what was happening, and I think that we should really try to get the message in a more simple way, starting for what is more easy to people to understand, and then scaling. I know that some people get hurt because of that, because you think that putting AI will solve the problem of the world, but no one's going to allow us. No one's going to allow that in the future years. So you can talk about that, but the actions, finally, my vision is that is not going to happen. You have to do things that are economically viable, one, that create a profit, because, as I said, non-profits are going to be banned, and also things that could be understandable for people, basic things, as the things that, for example, I'm saying, growing trees, growing kelp, growing phytoplankton naturally, biomimicking a process, that kind of things. But the other things will be really, really difficult. I think that we'll have very hard times. That's my summary. And as an update, we are for what we are doing, we are having a ship finally. So everything will change, and I will share with you soon our departure dates, so everyone can join us in our future expeditions. Thank you very much.
Right.
That's very good news for me.
Yeah, I think it is. Yes, thank you, Hugo, because you're a captain. You're a sea captain anyway, so
I was tired of not be sailing.
Say that again.
I was tired of not being sailing.
Oh, you're tired of not sailing.
I'm
right.
getting rusted.
You want to get back to sea.
Yeah.
You feel at home on the waves. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're raising money for.
So open to any discussion, but that was the vibe that I feel. As I said, I did have a very good time, very, very good. But I also was feeling that this ignoring the real things that is happening.
Yeah, got it. Yeah,
that position is not.
Yeah, don't ignore this negative politics from people like Trump. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Yep. Okay, Greg, you got your hand up, please.
Well, thanks for that summary, Hugo. And I was on the HVAC virtual one, but that's the only one. I wasn't there. I mean, I agree with much of what you said, and I think your particular venture is very promising for awareness, because it's like eco-climate science and eco-climate solutions. I mean, tourism, or climate tourism, or something like that, right? So you're bringing people in and they can both enjoy themselves and learn, and you can do experiments. You can make that a test bench. So I think that's a very valuable thing, and more power to you on that. I do think that trying to predict which solutions are going to be embraced is a function of how the crunch proceeds in terms of suffering and everything. And things will get to the point where politicians, there will be a clamoring from the people that will overwhelm some of the ideology because they're hurting. And that's what's going to, the politicians will be forced to respond to that. And at that point, SAI becomes more attractive because it can be deployed fast by superpowers. And superpowers have no problem acting unilaterally. Just look at the United States. Right? I rest my case on that. And I'm in favor of every single one of these methods that the people here are pursuing. I think we should be funding, testing, and innovating on all of them and developing them until they can be scaled. And the question of which one should be used or will be used is a question of which ones are going to scale fastest. And so if you're pushing on all of them, you will both be contributing. All of these methods can contribute, and as they grow, you'll see which ones will absorb most of the resources and most of the solution. And even in the case of SAI, it will be offloaded as soon as possible as these other methods are scaled up. So that's sort of one comment I would make. But
yeah, I agree with you. I did hear carefully about this new SAI approach that do it only on the poles by season. I think that approach could be as I said, has to be something that's scalable and could be one of the approaches that could finally start doing. But as I said, we have to be really careful of what is happening on the other side. There's already a lot of states banning everything. The Clear Skies Initiative by the states in Florida, and also another 3 or 4 more states that are already saying that, banning specifically
but I mean,
the SAI.
I think to me, those are posturing. And I do agree that there's real consequences of having ideology at the top, and in terms of, but I don't see that as a showstopper. The states, sort of like, how many divisions does Alabama have, or whatever? Stalin's remark.
Yeah.
In the end, the states don't have a hell of a lot of power in the United States. Certainly compared to the superpower, the general federal powers in the world. But it's. But I mean, in terms of testing, I don't see any problem. You can put kilotons of sulfur dioxide in the stratosphere, and you won't be able to study the chemistry and the whole supply, all the aspects except the ramp up to cooling without harming anyone. And so I don't think there should be these. I don't think we should ban SAI testing, which is one of the things that various people are trying to do. I'm against that, but I mean, obviously.
You're against testing, you're saying?
Say again?
What are you against, Greg?
No, I said I'm against a ban on even on any open.
Okay, you're against the ban on testing. Got it.
Yeah. Sorry, it's double negative there, but interestingly, there's not a hell of a lot of money going to even the most benign methods right now, and so I think all the methods should be actively being tested with, on the largest scale that money can provide it now, to really differentiate them. But anyway.
Right. Yeah, it strikes me there's another kind of it's all a form of denial. So you've got the original fossil fuel industry and denying climate change. Now you've got a lot of scientists denying that the climate without some kind of cooling from clouds or stratospheric aerosol, they're denying that that's needed. They're just saying, oh no, just
well, I think the parallel is depressing to the oil, to the fossil fuel industry and the original denialism, and it's even more. It extends to the extent that scientists found that no matter what kind of arguments they brought to bear to convince people that climate change is real, you couldn't convince anybody. And that's the same with the climate science community right now. No matter what arguments you bring to bear for cooling, it has no effect because they are ideologically opposed, or whatever reason they're not opposed on the facts. So, and that was the case with the right and the fossil fuel industries on denying climate change itself, which is that it didn't matter how much science you brought to bear, and that's one of the reasons that I think the scientists, the climate scientists, sort of gradually changed their tack.
Did they?
They've evolved their tack because of the impossibility of convincing a chunk of the population or certain or of corporations, that this was real, and I think there's a parallel to that, unfortunately, depressingly, to the effort to get cooling going. But anyway,
Yeah, I remember a time when the Financial Times and The Economist and I don't know, maybe the Wall Street, so, the major papers, major media that came round to it. This is quite a few years ago now, and I remember them getting stick as well from people saying, how can the Financial Times be so sort of woke, or so ridiculous, to accept the reality of climate, just at least 10 years ago, I think, that accept the reality of climate change. It's ridiculous. I'm going to cancel my subscription to the Financial Times. But that, I think their leadership, that they came out and said, yeah, look, this is real, and that happened a while ago. So that's right, and climate scientists just getting the message out, and talking to people and saying, look, you've got to understand this. This is happening, and then it's just become more and more sort of trying to understand attribution. Does that storm mean that was that caused by climate change? And people are trying to get their heads around basic physics, basic science. Most people don't really think very scientifically or from an engineering point of view.
I think Jonathan wants to say something.
Yeah, John. Sorry, thank you. Yeah, John.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, there was one notable announcement at New York Climate Week. So climate solution investor Tom Steyer had these few sentences to say at the end of his talk.
Hey, can I point out I have plaid sneaks? All right, next one. Is the importance of this overrated, underrated, or properly rated? Investment tax credits for wind and solar that are slated to phase out fairly soon. I think the importance is overrated. Overrated, okay. Direct air capture and other carbon removal technologies. Okay, that is a question to which the answer is, I want to change the question. Direct air capture, from what we can tell, talking to what we think are the best engineers in the world, it's way too expensive, it will always be way too expensive, and it does not scale under any circumstance. Way overrated. Other means of sequestration, including specifically natural means, underrated. I think there are multiple gigaton means of measurable, secure sequestration in the natural world this decade. No one thinks that. I believe that to be true, and I believe it to be important. Something that you will invest in. Yeah.
Okay, so he's committing his billions to natural sequestration, which in our group could be ocean-based.
Yes, that's very good news.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Nice. Thank you, John. Yeah, we've only got a couple of minutes. And Greg, you were just going to say a little. Is there any more on that? On that before we move on? I don't want to cut it off too much.
I just want to say the summary that the other side, for the other side, the word cooling, it doesn't make sense. Cooling is not anymore a word that they like. For some people, cooling is not necessary. They want to free up the Arctic for shipping industry. They don't give a shit about cooling. So that's why I said that all of the approaches that has, as this guy says, natural base and produce some other economical benefits, I think that it will be more easy to move forward. That's because of as I said, the word cooling doesn't make sense for these people anymore.
Yeah, they want to drill the Arctic and they want to sail the boats north of Russia and things like that.
Yeah,
maybe sail across the Arctic even. Yeah, drill it and to hell with the fact that everyone has to move out of all the coastal cities, like New York, so many places, Paris, London, everywhere, Bombay, Tokyo, we've got to move out because it's all underwater. Yeah, so Greg, please.
Well, I mean, maybe it's best if we talk about this at the next meeting. I mean, we're right at the end here, right? I don't know.
Well, how long did you want to talk about it? Was it just about the technicalities with me you want to talk about?
Well, there was a few things, but when we spoke about this, I think I got the wrong impression, but I was thinking a series of video shorts derived from particular specific conversations, snippet conversations that were raised, in one of the NOAC, in one of the other of the NOAC Zoom meetings, and that seemed that appealed to me, because you take a conversation that comes up and then you elaborate it and bring show papers
Yeah.
related and things like that. The other possibility was you try to condense a meeting, a Zoom into the relevant bits, leaving out all the the chaff. And that one, I had to go with that once for one draft thing of the last meeting where I just tried to capture the essence of a conversation and leave out a lot of the stuff that wasn't contributing, and then just go through that, do that. I'm not sure that is something that is going to be that useful, but I made a draft of that. But I think that what I think is it to me would be potentially more valuable and more would give more interest is making a short. It still should be short.
Yeah.
15 minutes.
It could be very short. It could be 1 minute or even less,
Well,
or
but
5 minutes. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it could be as short as you want. But in the case of trying to go a little deeper on a thing that was just touched upon, an interesting idea or point that was touched upon, for example, in this case, it was the termination shocks associated with a ban on dirty fuel. I mean, when I started looking at it, and I was going to make a little video, and I started looking at it, and I started building a PowerPoint presentation. It is pretty complicated because you're trying to tease out, again, it's this attribution. You see a spike, and it's close in time to the cutoff. So you want to claim that it's a consequence of, or it's largely driven by the ban coming into effect. But there's a lot of things you need to, from a scientific perspective, you need to include. So that was what my effort was. What are the things you have to address that may be masking or
I wouldn't worry too much, Greg, because people they'll watch it or they'll just not watch it, and Google may or may not bring it up to some people. If it's marked as it's environmental, it's got a title and maybe some sort of tags and something in the description that says it's about climate repair or geoengineering or something, the Google algorithm will bring it up, and if people watch it and they click like, it'll bring it up some more. So if it's no good, even if it is very good, it still might not get shown, or it might be not very good but get shown a lot because it's shorter. I mean, I think just get some stuff done, Greg, and
Well, I agree with that. It's better to have something than nothing.
Yeah, and no one's going to say, "Oh, Greg did a bad job." No one's going to say that because we haven't got time, and and we'll probably say we either say nothing or it might begin to get successful. Some of them get watched, and we look at them and say, "How many did that one get?" Well, look, we got 500 views from that one. I think you just chuck something to get some. Have a look through these. I can send you some more MP3s if you want. If you've got time to look through them and just say, "Hey, that's a good little speech." I think we've had a few in the past where people have been very passionate. Probably all of us at some point, have had a good old go, and it would be a good little snippet of just a few seconds, just before they start, and just sort of punchline, and then just stop. That's it, and then make it a short thing, and turn it into a thing that can be uploaded and put just. It's not. I think people do loads of them, and I get they pop up for me. Mostly they're quite good. I find. All kinds of different things.
These shorts on all kinds of regular podcasts and things are out there. So it's a thing that's being done. And
so I wouldn't worry. Just do something, Greg. And you either give it to me or upload it on your own thing. It's very easy to upload into there's a lot of things you've got to read and tick and all this sort of stuff nowadays.
Right. I'm happy to hand it off or whatever I come up with. And
great. Yeah, it's almost anything's better than nothing. There's so much out there, so much dross out there, isn't there? So if what you produce is dross, then it won't make that much difference. But hopefully it won't be dross. Hopefully it'll be, because it's us speaking. It's got to be good, isn't it? It's going to be something. It's going to be something useful. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Greg. Anything else?
Not from me.
Yeah, I mean, so I look forward. I mean, I'm very busy at the moment, but if you send me stuff, or if you can find a way to upload, if you've got time to read through all that stuff, you can get books, and you can, YouTube. There's plenty of things that explain.
There's plenty of resources to help you do that. So,
that's right. Yeah, if you've got a little bit of time, then that's very helpful if you can learn that, because I think that's what we need to do. We need to get better at things like that, social media and videos, because this is how a lot of people learn, and me included. I think many of us actually we learn from videos. Yeah. Okay, gentlemen and ladies, or lady, lovely to see you, Ursula, and everybody else, or gentlemen. See you in another couple of weeks. Have a great couple of weeks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Sure.
Good chat.
Bye.
Bye.